the page before she took it down. I scrolled through it and felt sick. The title was still there at the top. Help us convince him to save a dying child. She had used a photo of me from my company website. Below that was her whole story about how I was a perfect match, but refused to help. The comments section had over 200 responses. Monster. Heartless. How can you let a child die? I hope karma gets you. Someone wrote that they hoped I got kidney disease myself, so I'd know how it felt. Another person said I should be forced to donate. A woman wrote 3 paragraphs about how her son died waiting for a transplant, and how people like me were murderers. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. These people didn't know anything about the situation. They didn't know about the lies or the manipulation or the 9 years of deception, but they were all convinced I was evil. The next morning, someone knocked on my door around 8. I was still on the couch where I'd fallen asleep. I opened the door, and my mom was standing there with a bag of breakfast food and a photo album under her arm. She walked in without asking and set everything on my kitchen counter. I could smell the coffee and bagels, but I wasn't hungry. Mom sat down at my table and opened the photo album. She patted the chair next to her. I sat down, and she turned the album so I could see. The first picture was Celeste pregnant. She was maybe 6 months along, wearing a blue dress, smiling at the camera. I'd never seen this picture before. Mom flipped the page and there was a newborn baby in a hospital blanket. Then more pictures. The baby at maybe 6 months old, a toddler taking his first steps, a little boy at what looked like a family Christmas party, and I recognized my parents' house in the background. I looked at Mom. She had tears running down her face. She told me she'd been keeping this album separate from the others. She said she suspected the truth, but Lennox made her promise not to say anything. He told her it would destroy the family if anyone found out. I stood up fast enough that my chair scraped against the floor. I asked her how long she'd known. She said she didn't know for sure until a few days ago when Lennox admitted everything, but she'd suspected for years. She thought she was protecting everyone by staying quiet. I told her she wasn't protecting me. She wasn't protecting the kid either. We both deserved to know the truth. Mom started crying harder and said she was sorry. She said Lennox convinced her that telling the truth would tear the family apart, and she thought keeping the secret was the right thing to do. She kept saying she was sorry over and over. I sat back down because I was too tired to stay angry. Mom flipped to the back of the album and pulled out a loose photo. She slid it across the table to me. It was recent, maybe from last week. A boy in a hospital bed, pale and thin with tubes in his arm. But I could see my eyes looking back at me from that photo. My nose, even the same weird cowlick in his hair that I'd always hated on myself. Mom's voice was quiet when she said that was him.